they are suffering by not having outlets for them to go do things.
It's not just small business owners and schools impacted by COVID restrictions. Youth sports also on pause, and coaches worry the kids are missing out on more than just exercise.
It's the return of wintry precipitation across the inland Northwest as I'm tracking not just rain, but snow and freezing rain over the next 24 hours.
We're talking about a companion, a lifetime companion, and that's a big decision to be making for someone else.
And as we head into the holidays, why the Spokane Humane Society is asking people to think twice before buying a pet as a gift, especially during the pandemic. And we do have some breaking news this hour. Inchelium is placed under a curfew until further notice due to severe COVID-19 outbreaks, and that's according to the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation.
That curfew goes into effect immediately. It restricts non-essential travel between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. All residents and visitors must remain indoors during those hours. Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 11. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Regina On. Well, as the pandemic stretches on, more and more groups are pushing for the safe return of youth sports.
They've been on pause for the majority of the year, and with indoor gyms shut down now too, there are even fewer outlets for young athletes in training. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones explains.
Over the course of this pandemic, a return to normal has sometimes felt like more of a far-fetched dream than an obtainable reality. Gyms like this one behind me have been closed all across the state, and there's no telling when they'll be able to reopen their doors. But the people who utilize the facility the most have been drastically impacted. Monday nights have never been this quiet at the Hub Sports Center. Normally, their 66,000 square foot building in Liberty Lake would be filled with the sound of squeaking shoes and athletic competition.
Yeah, it's depressing to leave here at night. It's dark out, it's cold, and my building's dark and vacant.
For the majority of this year, youth athletics haven't had a place in Washington. Gyms were shut down when the pandemic began. When they reopened, it was like walking on thin ice before new protocols came in, bringing them to a halt. What's even more concerning for people like Phil Champlin is long-term mental health.
You know, for a lot of these kids, this is their outlet.
The impact of closed gyms rolls down to the local athletes and coaches. Some have turned to weekly Zoom meetings to try and fill the void of missed training opportunities. Without their normal resources, college recruitment is blurred, and staying in competitive shape has become increasingly difficult.
It was nice being there and having that taken away for the second time. I think for most of us, this is actually harder than it was the first time.
It felt like when we went back in, being a little baby in the first class, because we had to restart basically.
A lack of sports has been stressful while awaiting approval on their return. Seeing their peers compete in other places across the country has added on to the frustration. In the meantime, several gyms in Spokane have reached out to Governor Inslee for reconsideration on guidelines.
And having taken that time off, it's even harder to rebuild the confidence and get back to where you were, just because of the mental aspect of it as well.
For now, indoor gyms will remain closed at least until December 14th. From Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Well, it's been nearly 3 weeks since gyms, athletic facilities, and youth sports have been put on pause in Washington state, and student athletes just have had enough. Over the weekend, a coalition of players, coaches, and families from around the state took their concerns to the state capitol.
They want the governor to think about the mental toll the COVID restrictions and closures are having on student athletes.
I can't express myself on the court, and I can't let that anger or the sadness out. So it builds up and it really hurts more than normal.
Our Seattle sister station reached out to the governor's office for a response but has not yet heard back. Other states, including Oregon, have allowed some of the sports activities to continue. Now to tracking the coronavirus. New tonight, 4 detention services staff tested positive for COVID-19. The Grant County Sheriff's Office will be closed tomorrow until further notice because those staff members tested positive for COVID. No inmates have yet tested positive. The public can reach the staff at that number right there on your screen.
In the meantime, 56 more inmates at Geiger Correction Center in Airway Heights have tested positive for COVID-19. 10 inmates at the Spokane County Jail have tested positive as well.
The State Department of Corrections says they're experiencing delays in receiving results from laboratories as communities all across Washington are increasing COVID testing, which explains any sudden increases in received test results, they said.
In the meantime, new protocols are now in place at both jails. That includes weekly testing for staff and bi-weekly testing of inmates.
An isolation floor for positive inmates is also set up, along with a quarantine area for all exposed inmates. At Airway Heights Correction Center, there have been 537 new coronavirus cases reported just since last Monday. Meantime, in Spokane County, the Health District reported 366 new cases today. 603 cases were reported over the weekend. There are also 7 new deaths reported today, and 128 people are currently in our local hospitals.
As COVID hospitalizations continue to surge across Spokane County, as a result, some elective surgeries are still being postponed. A Providence spokesperson says bed capacity is low, but staff is the other main concern, adding our hospitals do not have unlimited capacity. We're concerned with the potential fallout of Thanksgiving gatherings. If we see an impact from the holiday, it will come soon, end quote. The latest predictions from health experts paints a grim picture of the coronavirus's progression in Spokane County.
Yeah, researchers with Policy Lab at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia are projecting that COVID-19 cases in Spokane, Portland, Seattle, and surrounding areas would double over the next month. Just in the past month, the SRHD has reported 4 days where coronavirus cases spiked above 400. Based on Policy Lab's projections, Spokane County could soon see days with spikes of 800 to 1,000 new COVID-19 cases. We spoke to Policy Lab Director Dr. David Rubin about the risk of putting pressure on Spokane area hospitals.
So when you double, that also means that you're doubling the number of daily admissions and the number of people who are requiring intensive care. And eventually, if that pace is sustained and it continues to grow, you overwhelm your hospitals.
And again, as we told you earlier, Spokane hospitals are delaying some of those elective surgeries. And right now, it's important that critical care beds are still available.
All right, let's talk weather, shall we? It's been a chilly start to the work week here in the inland Northwest with highs right around freezing today.
It's high.
My goodness, yeah.
All right, let's check in now with Thomas Patrick, who's back now after vacation. Good to see you here, Thomas. So what's in store for the rest of this week?
Yeah, hopefully we can get those highs a little bit higher.
That'd be nice.
If you will, yes. Yeah, unfortunately, that cloud cover and even some of the fog that we've dealt with recently, just keeping our temperatures pretty steady even into the daytime hours. But for tonight, and especially for tomorrow, tracking precipitation as it returns to the area. I got my eyes on Doppler radar for tonight. Good to see that it's clear at the moment because it wasn't that way over Bonners Ferry about 3 hours ago. A little bit of a light wintry mix, maybe even a freezing drizzle may have popped up on radar there. So that is a possibility for tonight, but the onshore flow that's giving the rain across western Washington, that'll provide more widespread precipitation about 24 hours from now or so. So I'm just anticipating a cloudy night tonight with temperatures only at about 32 degrees by tomorrow morning. So it certainly could be a lot colder. So at least that cloud cover acting like a blanket for tonight. If we do see that sunshine, it's going to be setting pretty early because starting tomorrow, we get the earliest sunsets of the year from December 8th to the 12th. Sunset is at 3:57 p.m. That is mighty early, but it does get better from there as we even head towards the winter solstice. But as mentioned, tracking some precipitation that could be rain, snow, or even more freezing rain about 24 hours from now.
Alonso or Luis Diaz, here he comes. Svensson!
Well, that is the game-winning goal as the Seattle Sounders advance to the MLS Cup. The Sounders scored that game-winning goal in the 4th minute of stoppage time tonight. The team rallied late to win. They were down 2-0, but scored all 3 of their goals in the final 20 minutes of the game. The Sounders will now take on the Columbus Crew as they try to win their 2nd straight MLS Cup championship.
Well, last week, the state of Washington launched a new coronavirus exposure notification setting for apps on your phone.
Yeah, the State Department of Health shared some numbers with us tonight, including how many people have downloaded the app and what kind of data they're not collecting about sending verification codes for the virus.
So we ask that, be considerate and let people make that decision for themselves.
Also, still ahead, we spoke with the Spokane Humane Society on why gifting a pet should not be one of those ideas, especially right now during the pandemic. That story, more coming up next.